So, with David Stirling as our chairman and CEO of doTerra, doTerra is one of the most successful and fastest growing companies in our industry. Now, he will tell you this is because of his capable team and, of course, you as fabulous wellness advocates. But David's strength really lies in his ability to see what is possible. And then he inspires others to do the same. I'm sure you'll feel that when you listen to him. Here to talk to us today about the doTerra difference, please welcome CEO and founding executive David Stirling, alongside our Executive Vice President of Corporate Relations and European Markets for doTerra International. We have Kurt Jowers.
Welcome, Leadership 2020. I am so excited for this next segment. For me, leadership has been defined by the man I'm sitting with, David Stirling. He was one of the original founders of doTerra, of course, and is our founder and CEO. It's been my pleasure in my time with my role with Europe and EMEA to work closely with David and to learn at his feet on how to keep this incredible market growing and thriving. But we're going to go a little bit to the beginnings with David on doTerra. So David, thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure to be here, and you're way too kind in what you say about leadership and so forth.
Well, it's amazing, and as you know, my first trip ever to be with Wellness Advocates when I was still learning a lot about our business model, learning a lot about the essential oils. The one thing that I latched on to in our very first meeting together was this co-impact sourcing. We had in my higher education days, this gathering of all of the former American ambassadors, and we had every presidential's advisor from 5 different presidents that had been there, African presidents and prime ministers. Anyway, the representative from President Obama's administration described co-impact sourcing, essentially. This was 3 years before I'd even heard of doTerra. But she talked about you need to give people jobs. They need to be part of what you're growing and not just taking everything from us. And so when I first heard about co-impact sourcing, that's what rang out in my mind is doTerra is actually doing what every president, Republican, Democrat, every nation's leader said we should be doing, and you're the first company that I had ever heard that was doing it.
You know, it's interesting to me because we have on a regular basis government representatives coming through here, ambassadors and various ministers of whatever it might be, justice, education, things like that, and. You know, they initially are interested in what we're doing with Healing Hands and sometimes doing just these fantastic projects in their country. But when they understand the sourcing side of things and what we're doing in terms of economies and jobs, that becomes mind-blowing. That all of a sudden gets their full attention. That's where they are knocking our door down saying, come and do more with us. And I wish we could,
right?
You know, but it is a model that has taken years. I have to give credit where credit is due, though, and that is while in the beginning years we did a lot of this, we dove in, and I remember going to crazy places in the world with sometimes with Emily, sometimes with others, or Dr. Hill or somebody, and to a Somalia or to a Nepal or these things. We have this team that we've put together over the years. It's our sourcing team, led by Tim Valentiner.
Right.
And this team now has grown to be fairly large, and with about 75% of the members of the team out positioned in different parts of the world, overseeing these projects. And these are people that are extremely passionate, that probably are more passionate about impacting lives,
right,
and blessing lives of now what is nearing 200,000 people,
right,
literally in jobs, and they're
200,000 jobs and about 1.4 million direct lives
that are impacted. You're right, and they are super passionate about that, and so it's become part of the ethos now of doTerra, something that we love, something that sometimes makes a guy like a Corey Lindley just look crazy because it's not the cheapest way to do things.
Right.
Almost all essential oils come from brokers. And the great majority are going to be changed or doctored, either through synthetic, derivatives or through what I call engineering, adding natural isolates to an oil. And of course, we won't do any of that. And so now we have this developed sourcing project that not only gets 100% pure oils, which is so important to us,
Right.
It also is designed to bless just tens of thousands of lives. It is a real thing. I can't think of another example of any company that's accomplished something like this.
No, I
around.
keep looking. I mean, there are some companies, pretty big ones, that try to make similar claims, not in our area, but coffee and otherwise. And it just is nowhere close. It's nowhere close.
You have to have a team of people that it's almost a religion to them,
Right.
to accomplish those sorts of objectives. And so I'm grateful for that because it now is very real. It's not marketing. It is extremely real what's been created and what's done today in the sourcing of doTerra's oils.
Well, I've got an admission and a question based on what you just said. My admission is, after I met with you, I thought I was incredible.
For our 30-minute meeting, you mean?
Yeah, that turned out to be 3.5 hours.
That turned out to be 3.5 hours.
But I knew the one person I did know quite well from doTerra prior to our first meeting was Tim Valentiner. He was at my program at the Hinckley Institute at the University of Utah. And so I had to talk to him and say, this co-impact sourcing, it sounds like an incredible marketing thing. Like someone is genius on this. It's not real, is it? Or it's just real in one place. And so he sat down with me for about 5 hours and really walked me through. And at that point, I thought, I can change the world much more with this company than I could even with some of the big elections I had worked on. And
it's partly because of the relationships that we have throughout the world. It's, we control now, I think it's 98%, something like that, completely of the essential oils that we sell. We have complete control over it, right down to the farmer and their little 1 acre, 2 acre plot of ground lots of times, right?
Yeah.
Or less than that.
You say that and I
acre.
picture Samuel Aguirre in Kenya. A
It's-
wife, 3 kids, 2 acres.
Yeah, 2 acres, and that's a lot. Lots of times it's literally a half an acre.
Right.
And we literally produce, you talk about Africa, look at an area like Kenya, for example, some fantastic projects there. And we produce millions of seedlings every year. We have
Right.
an operation where we produce the seedlings, we go and we give them to people like that, and because they can't pay for it. And so it's kind of a micro-lending aspect to this that we bring in as well. And we give them these on credit. They plant it, they grow it. If they can grow it to the quality standards that we require, then we guarantee that we will buy their crop back from them.
Right.
And then the seedlings are paid back in that manner. And of course, they're making 4, 5, 6, 8 times what they would normally make. Well, it balances it out, because the uneven playing ground now is people that are going to adulterate the oils, that are going to extend them by 25, 50% through synthetic components and so forth. But we have loyalty.
Yeah.
We have loyalty that goes from, some cases in some countries, government level,
Right.
because of what we're doing economically for them, all the way down to the farmers or to the managers, the leaders of the cooperatives that are organizing what sometimes are hundreds and hundreds of farmers together.
Right.
The loyalty is huge because of this influence in there. And so that ends up being this balancing thing that allows us to operate more like this than to follow the ups and downs of the market, and having to depend on brokers, to depend on engineering of the oils and so forth. It's a smoothing element that allows us to have very consistent costs that then we can build in and operate as a country and stay healthy as a company with the right margins that we have to have. And so doTerra, when we hit this, when COVID hit, there were challenges. We sent home 85% of our employees immediately overnight. I mean, there was a lot of scrambling. They were scrambling around the globe.
Sent home to work. We haven't laid off a single person.
We haven't laid off a single person, not a single person.
But we've been hired.
We had the transition to working from home, which was really tricky. And then, of course, governments around the world handle things very differently.
Right.
A lot of scrambling, but yet doTerra has grown substantially this year.
It reminded me, you mentioned our first meeting that was supposed to be 15 minutes or a half hour, went 3.5 hours. Many things, incredible things that I think back about. One, though, is another wall that keeps some people from coming to doTerra, which is our direct selling model. I mean, that brings some people, but it also, people have their own opinions of it. And I was so struck how you kept saying something to the effect of, Kirk, you need to forget everything you've read or heard about direct selling if you want to understand doTerra. I get it completely now. It took me a couple of months after that call to really do that. Can you explain in our short amount of time what that means, why doTerra is different?
Well, I'll have to begin by saying that my wife, she always embarrasses me with this if she gets a hold of a microphone. She likes to talk about just how negative I was toward direct sales and network marketing. I had a very bad perception in my mind of that, all the negativity. And anywhere I've gone in the world where I've asked for a raise of hands, how many of you believe where you're at? I don't care if it's in Germany or France or Romania or Japan or the United States. How many of you believe that general perception about network marketing is negative? Pretty much every hand will go up every time.
Right.
And so, and so we understood that. And we felt the same way. And we wanted to build something really, really, really different with doTerra. So what makes doTerra different? How was it able to overcome that? How was it able to be something that would become that a vast amount of people would be very open to, that normally would be very closed, to a network marketing model? We had to overcome the negative aspects of it. We had to do it differently. There's probably 2 or 3 things I can say. Number one indicator we've accomplished that is our retention. When we talk about retention, we talk about anyone who has ever purchased, a customer who's ever purchased essential oils from doTerra, that's, from our beginning 12 and a half years ago to today. It's unbelievably high in the industry. Nobody touches it or comes close. If you share that number with others who are in the industry, they will tell you they don't believe you and that you're not being truthful, right? So that's an indicator. But how did we do it? First of all, our product focus essential oils is a big part of it. There's no doubt about that. We lead with that product. We lead with blessing lives, changing lives with our essential oils, and that's got to be a big part of it. We focus on people. This is one of the core differences. For many companies in our space, in the direct sales space, the product is the opportunity. I would say that that's often true, actually.
Yeah.
The product that they actually are selling is nothing more than a vehicle for the real product, which is opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's what they actually are leading with. And and that is not us. That is not us. And so people come at doTerra very differently, from much more granular space. And when they get into the business, often, this isn't everyone, there are some that come to doTerra for the business opportunity, but it's a very small percentage compared to the majority who are leaders in the business today for doTerra.
Right.
They came with no intention along those lines. And so it's because of some of those things, and then because you'll never see us as a company leading with, here's how much you can make, here's the bundles of cash, here's the vacations, here's the fancy homes and things like that.
Right.
doTerra is real. It's extremely real. It's so important to us, and I'm speaking for myself and not only all of the founders, but also I'm sure for yourself and any other of our significant leaders and employees at doTerra. doTerra is about something that is going to impact the world for good. It goes beyond money for any of us, and it becomes something that you've got to make a difference in the world. You've got to bless lives, if not from a health standpoint, then from a poverty or an economic standpoint.
Yeah.
Or just in terms of relieving suffering and whatever you can do. That's extremely important to us. We have this view on life, I guess, that none of us live forever.
Yeah.
And when you're gone, what matters?
Right.
And what really matters? And if you're not making an impact and you're not going to leave behind an impact like that, then it doesn't really matter what you die with. You go out of this world pretty much with what you come into it with, okay?
Yeah.
And so it's this impact. And the hardest thing for me to conceive of, the most hurtful thing, is that doTerra not do what it's supposed to do and fail in that regard and let people down.
Right.
So many people that are pinning hope and greater meaning to life and the difference that they're making on the company and on its products, that is the worst thing I can think of ever letting people down in that regard. So we try to build a company not just by having a super healthy balance sheet in a world today that it's not that way in the United States,
right?
Corporations, and we try to do everything we can to make sure the company is going to be here for the long term, not just from different economic impacts that could happen, but everything that we do to build it to pass the bus test. So if Kirk Jowers gets hit by a bus tomorrow, Europe goes on. If Dave Stirling gets hit by a bus, it's not possible. Yeah.
You'd be heartbroken, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but literally, literally, I mean, people are important. They're the most important asset and resource that you have. But what I tell my partners often is, stick your hand in the bucket of water. Okay, now take it out and see what happens.
Right.
It's like that. The water closes in around it, and life goes on.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, if the company stumbles in some way, if you get hit by that proverbial bus tomorrow, you're not doing your job right.
Right.
And we need to fix that. We need to fix that because it's much more than about any one of us. It's about a much broader mission.